Chapter 13, Minitab. This activity includes 3 questions. You're going to use the data in the textbook data set to answer the following questions. Question 1, explore the relationship of public safety expenditures to county median family income. Create a scatter plot and describe what you see. I'm going to use different variables to explore this type of a question, and I'm going to look at human services expenditure and how they vary by the mean family income, which is in C40. So first thing it asks me to do is look at a scatter plot. So I'm going to go to Graph and Scatter Plot, and it's a simple scatter plot that I'm going to do. And I'm going to look at the human services, which is going to go into Y, and that is in column C33. And then in X, I'm going to put the mean family income, mean household income, which is in column C40. And I'll hit OK. And there's my scatter plot. And so what I notice is, as the mean family income, mean household income rather, increases, the human services expenditures also increase. For question 2, you want to create a new variable that categorizes. In your activity, you're going to use the median family income into 3 categories, low, medium, and high, and create at least one graphical display that shows how the public safety expenditures vary by those, are related to those 3 categories of median family income. So I'm going to use, again, the mean household income, which is in C40, and I'm going to create a variable titled income level with low, medium, and high. The way to do this is to use rankings in order to create the new variable. So I'll rank the column, and then I'll use the ranks to create the new variables. Use the commands data, rank, and I'm going to pick the mean family income, which is in C40. And I'm going to store the ranks in column C80. And I've already done this, so I'm not going to do it again. But if I go over in my spreadsheet, you'll see that I already have the ranks done here. All right, and then what I did was, using those ranks, I'm going to create a new variable, and I go to Data, and I'm going to select Recode to Text. And I'm going to take the variable that I just created, the ranks, and I was using the income ranks here. I'm going to select that up here. And then I want to select Recode Range of Values. And I selected my ranges for the low, medium, and high. The 1st to the 33rd were the lowest. Then 34 to 67 was the medium, and 68 to 100 was the high. The way I set this up, I want the endpoints to include both, so the both meaning the lower and the upper. And then I'm going to put the data in a specified column, and I went ahead and I put this into column C85. And again, I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it a second time. But if you notice here, here's my income ranks, and here's my categories. And now I'm going to go ahead and look at box plots. I think that would be helpful. So let's go to Graph and Box Plots. And I'm going to do With Groups. And I'm going to select, I'm using, again, the human services. You're going to use the public services expenditures. And I'm going to do it by the income categories that I just created down there in C85. And I'm going to hit OK. And now here are my box plots. And I can tell a lot from my box plots. I see a lot of outliers here in the high group. I can talk about the range of the values, where the medians are, and so forth. Now for question number 3, it asks me to test the hypothesis that public safety expenditures vary by county median family income. Give the hypotheses. Should you use a chi-square or a t-test, and then perform the appropriate procedure, and would you reject or null? What evidence did you use to make your decision? So again, I'm going to look at the human services expenditures by the mean household income, and my hypotheses are going to be, the research is, as the income level increases, the human services expenditures increase, which I saw in my graphs from questions 1 and 2. And my null is going to be that the level of expenditures does not vary with the income. I'm going to use a chi-square test, and I'm going to let you decide why I decided to do that. Now, in order to use a chi-square test, my data have to be classified with 2 categorical variables. I've got one done already for the income. Now I need to do one for the human services expenditure. And I'm going to do that similar to how I did it in question number 2. And if I go back to my data set, you'll see that I've already done that. I did my human services, I did the rankings. Remember, I used data and rank. And then I took the ranks and I created the categories. Remember, I did that using data, recode to text, and I took the data, and in this case it would be the data from the human services rankings, and I put them into categories here. And then I'm going to do a chi-square test on these 2 categorical variables. So I go to Stat, Tables, Crosstab and chi-square. I'm going to go ahead and select my variables. I've got raw data. Income categories is what I'm using for my rows, and my human services categories for my columns. Click on the chi-square option, and we want to select the chi-square test. Display the expected cell counts and also the cell contribution to the chi-square. I think those would be helpful for you when you look at the results. And hit OK. And if I pull my screen down here, here's my 2x2 table. I'm sorry, my 2-way table. And I notice down here that in each cell I've got the count that occurred in each cell, and then I've also got the contribution to the chi-square. And in the middle value is the expected cell count. And again, I can talk about what I'm seeing there. And if you look at the handout, I notice I flagged this cell right here because it's got quite a high contribution to the chi-square. The p-value for the hypothesis test was 0, which means that I would reject my null, and it tells me that the level of expenditure is not independent of the income level. It's somehow associated. And examining again, I see this cell is contributing the most. And again, that matches the box plots I had in question 2.